almost going to be the only people that I was teaching to, which I would have probably gone and got my computer so I could stare instead of up at the sky. But Aiden showed up, so. All right. So before we start, though, Aiden wasn't here on Tuesday. So for you guys that are on Zoom, what questions do you have before we get going?
What class is this too?
Needs analysis.
Needs analysis, day 2.
Is anyone on Zoom? Oh, there we go. Erica.
I'm here.
All right. Thanks, Stacy. All right. So the other thing for you guys on Zoom, make sure you throw your name in the chat box so that I have a record of who is here. All right.
I'm
So
here too.
what's that?
Said I'm here too.
Oh, there you go, Brielle. Awesome. Okay. So, but no questions, huh? All right. Well, here's what we're going to do then is I'm just going to kind of briefly review what we talked about on Tuesday, and then we will build on that for today. So the first thing that we talked about on Tuesday was that the top 3 complaints that people have about real estate agents is we don't return the calls, we don't listen, and we waste their time. And then we went through and talked about why that is and why they have those type of complaints about us. From there, then we talked about how 10% of who you are is conscious. And in fact, I'll just throw that up here. 10% of who you are is conscious. 90% is unconscious, meaning that there's a lot of programming that's gone on and we're doing a lot of things without consciously thinking about it. And that this is the information where it is stored for people to be buying is in this emotional part of things. Is so they say things like, I don't know how to explain it, but I'll know it when I see it. When they say that, what they're saying is the information is here. And so our job then is to take, so again, this is the brain of the pictures are stored in one area, the decisions are stored in another area, and then the feelings in a third area. And what ends up happening then is our job, what we're trying to do is to get those to reintegrate, to come back together. And when that happens, so this is, since you weren't here, Aiden, I don't expect you to answer, but for you guys on Zoom, unmute or throw it in the chat box, whichever. When that happens, when the pictures, the decisions, and the feelings come back together, what is that called?
Crystallization.
Awesome. Good job. Yes, it's crystallization. So what we are trying to create is crystallization because, and now why? Why is that important?
Picture. The dream. Yes.
Okay. Somebody on Zoom, why was that important that they crystallized? Do you remember?
Because everybody loves crystals.
No. Okay, good. So I'm glad that I'm doing this refresher then.
It's to solidify the idea in their mind and make them in sync with you.
Okay, good. So here's the key piece. Nobody is going to buy, and now remember, when I say buy, this includes a seller listing their home with you because they're buying your service. Nobody is going to buy until crystallization occurs. So crystallization has to take place in order for someone to move forward in the process and to purchase. And now with that, let me go one other step on this before we jump back in and that is this. That there are features that people are going to talk to you about the features they're looking for. That when they're talking about the number of bedrooms, number of baths, the pool, the basement, the family room, the garage, any of those things are all features. Features. It's not the feature that they're looking for, though. It's the benefit that that feature is going to provide is what they're going to buy. So I had mentioned, and in fact, actually, I don't know if you guys that were with me in St. George yesterday in class caught it, but, and I can't remember the guy's name now that said it yesterday, but somebody made the comment in class yesterday in St. George that buyers are liars. Did you guys, were any of you that were in the class with me in St. George?
That was Jeremy.
Was it Jeremy? I don't think it was Jeremy. that said it.
I thought it was Jeremy.
I thought it was the guy that was like up towards the front, Daniel or something.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I thought Jeremy said that.
I don't know. Anyway, but remember what I said about that. You guys remember what I said about when somebody says buyers are liars?
That they weren't liars.
Yeah, that really what we're saying is we are poor communicators. And really what it means is they're telling us about the feature they want, but it's not the feature that they really want. It's the benefit. And the only way that they know how to describe to you the benefit that they want, because they don't know, again, let me come back to this. At a conscious level, they are not aware of what the benefit is. They know that there is some benefit they're looking for, but at a conscious level, they don't know what it is. Therefore, they tell you as best as they can by putting it into a feature. They put the benefit into the feature. So it's not now it could be that they want that feature. So don't hear me that I'm saying that they don't need the feature, because it could be that feature. But really it's the benefit they're looking for. And and this is the key piece, if the benefit can be met some other way, they'll take it. That's where we get this buyers are liars, is they show up saying they want a home high on a hill with a view of the city lights because they want privacy. Well, if they can find privacy on a home that's tucked away in a canyon surrounded by nothing but trees, they'll go buy that. And then we say buyers are liars because they said they wanted a home high on a hill with a view of the city lights. But why did they want the home on the hill with the view of the city lights is really what we were wanting to get to, which is then gets to the benefit, which was privacy. And that's what they're looking for in the home, not the feature. So just as a reminder, features have a price tag, benefits do not. You can find the benefit in any price range. That's thus me saying that somebody who describes a home that has all these wonderful features that they can't afford, the home they're going to buy will have the benefits that they're looking for, though. Okay. All right. Any questions on that? Okay. Next then. So tool number one that we talked about was directives. The directives are describe for me, share with me, tell me about, or help me understand. Okay, so you're going to start with, when you're working now, so for this piece right here, we're going to talk about just the buyer of a house, not this. We're not including sellers yet. Describe for me your ideal home. That's where we want to start with a buyer, is describe for me your ideal home. They're going to then start to talk. Now, keep in mind, though, they're going to talk from this conscious level. They think what you want to hear is just features. They think you want to hear how many beds, how many baths, how many square feet, how many car garage. That's what they think you want to hear. So because of that, once they are done telling us whatever they tell us, we're then going to do, and this is still part of tool number one, we're going to use some prompters. And the prompters are what else? Keep going. Say more, something along those lines, okay? Those are the prompters. So what's going to happen then is they're going to say to me, I want 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garage. And I am then going to reply back of, hey, that's great. So I want to use positive feedback. I love what you're saying. What else? Or, wow, yeah, for sure. Keep going. Or we're going to say something along the lines of, hey, I love what you've told me. Say more. And then ask them to keep talking. So what we're doing now, I'm going to introduce a piece that I don't know if I did on Tuesday. I don't remember if I did this. what we're gonna be doing while they're telling us all of this is I'm gonna be writing it down. Did I say that to you guys on Tuesday? Again, for you guys on Zoom, don't count on anyone in the room responding. Aiden's here, but he wasn't here Tuesday, so.
No,
this-
you didn't.
Okay, thank you. So here's what we're gonna do then. As they're talking and they're describing all of these features, what we're gonna be doing then is writing it down and I'm gonna give to you guys today well, I'm gonna put it in the chat box. So if you're on a cell phone, I don't think you'll be able to get it. If you're on a computer, you will. In fact, actually, let me do it right now. Well, hang on.
And is the grid important or is that literally just a piece of paper?
Say that again.
Is the grid important or is it just a piece of paper?
Yeah, great question. So I'm gonna give you a grid here and I'll give it to you guys on Zoom. I'll throw it in the chat box in a little bit. But to answer your question, Eden, you could actually just get out a piece of paper and draw a grid. So it's
I
not
want
that.
the grid then, like grid is important.
The grid is important, yes. So what you're gonna do though, is they're gonna start to describe their home. As they describe features, whatever it is, let's say they go with the kitchen first, I'm gonna write kitchen in here, and then I'm gonna write whatever they say about the kitchen. And then when they talk about a family room, I'm gonna just take one of the other boxes and I'm gonna write about whatever they say about the family room. They talk about the backyard, I'm gonna take the backyard and I'm gonna write whatever they say about the backyard. Now, okay. Next piece of this. I mentioned to you guys on Tuesday that I asked this question. So Aiden, I'll ask it and you can answer this one. Is it okay if we let them buy the house they want, not the one we think they should buy? Okay, good. So, yeah, see, a lot of times people think it's a trick question. So if you guys could have seen his face, he was like, yeah, like, so the answer is yes, we should let them buy the house they want. But here's the problem. Now, remember, so you weren't here, Aiden, but you guys remember on Tuesday, I was telling you, our assumptions are what we think they want the feature for, the benefit of that feature. We talk about that feature in terms of the benefit it would be to us, not to them, because traditionally the way you and I communicate, we would have them tell us a feature, home high on a hill with a view of the city lights. We talk about the feature from our perspective, not theirs. And let me introduce this because I didn't say this on Tuesday. The other thing that goes on is I read an article and I wish I would have printed it. I didn't, and I'm so mad that I didn't keep it. But I read something that talks about that every one of us assumes that eventually everyone will figure out we were right. Like, stop and think about that, because that really is true. Think about it. I don't care what it is. If it's the right kind of a diet you should be on, if it's the religion, if it's politics, like whatever it is, stop and think about it for a minute. And if you will tell yourself the truth, welcome back. Although it was welcome back to me too, kind of, right?
Yeah,
So-
you were in California.
Yeah, I
right?
was gone last week, but
Once
so,
late, Rick is always talking to me. I'm like, hey, Rick, I gotta go.
oh, I will give him crap for that.
Telling horror stories.
Yeah, so, okay, so here's what happens. Every one of us assumes that eventually everyone will figure out that we were right. Well, if you'll stop and think about that for a minute, in your life, you have, whatever area it is, it almost doesn't matter. If you really stop and think about it, you will see that you feel that way. That like the way you believe about things is the right way, and that eventually everyone will figure it out that you were right. Well, that being the case, the reason I say, is it okay if we let them buy the house they want, is because what ends up happening is we go out and start showing them properties, but we assume we know better than they would. And so we start to talk about the house from our perspective and what we would want on the house, because we haven't taken the time to ask enough questions to figure out what's important to them about the home. Does that make sense? Okay, so for you guys on Zoom, you good?
I always forget about Zoom.
I know. Well, it's It's a good thing Aiden was here then, because you would have walked in and I would have just been standing here teaching and you would have been like, what are you doing? So, all right, you guys are good on Zoom or can you even hear me? Yep,
Yes, we're good. I'm good.
We're good.
okay, there we go. Thank you. All right, so here's the thing. So I'm gonna test you guys on Zoom again because Samantha wasn't here Tuesday either. So I got 2 people live with me that weren't here to hear what we talked about on Tuesday, but that's okay. So for you guys on Zoom, why am I doing this? Oh, good, Aiden even got it.
What, crystallization?
Yeah, good. See, Samantha, where are you guys at on Zoom? Are we
Well, I just
We
looked
just-
at the board.
okay, good.
I remember.
Anyways.
Are we delayed on Zoom or what? Nobody's answering me.
I wasn't here Tuesday either. So I'm not helpful either.
Okay, maybe I should just start over and teach Tuesday's class again.
We'll do 2 hours.
Well, and we're all on mute, so then it takes a minute to unmute yourself.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you that. Hey, which, by the way, did you know, Stacy, you don't have to actually unmute. If you're on your computer, if you push the space bar, it will unmute you just while you talk, and then as soon as you let the space bar off, then it goes back to mute.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to try that.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Oh my
Aiden's
God.
like, yeah, I knew that. Hey, Sam,
Well, hello.
welcome back.
Thank you.
Sam was good. He was gone too.
He was gone.
Everyone
You were
was
gone. I was gone. He was
Yeah.
gone.
I was at meetings in Texas,
Oh, okay, okay.
What part of Texas?
Dallas.
Did you go to the Cowboys game on Monday?
You know, I did not, but a bunch of the guys that were at the
Oh.
meeting with us went.
You should have.
Tickets for nosebleed were 400.
Oh,
Are you kidding?
And I was like,
Yeah, you don't want to go that bad.
no, and we had a big dinner that night with the people who didn't go, where we had to.
No, that's funny.
we're
Cool.
gonna suck.
All right, so for you guys on Zoom, make sure you know, you can just hit the space bar if you want to, and then it'll just only unmute you while you're talking, and then you can,
Coolest tip ever.
yep, good, class is over, thanks very much.
That's all.
All right. So here's what we're gonna do is, so we are asking them these questions. Oh, I like forgot why I went on that whole rant. So let me come back to this. You'll notice on this grid, and then I'm gonna give you guys a piece of paper here in a minute, but you'll notice on the grid that on this grid, I don't have features filled in. You're gonna notice on the paper that I give you, it's blank, bless you, just like what this is. That it's blank. It doesn't have any, it's got the boxes, but it doesn't say kitchen, it doesn't say backyard, it doesn't say family room, it doesn't say basement, it doesn't say garage. Why? So now I'm gonna test you to see if you learned, let me rephrase that, not to see if you've learned anything, to see if I've taught you anything. So why would we leave these blank? Why wouldn't I just have every feature of a house that would be possible so that if they talked about it, we would just put it in that box?
Because you want the customer telling you what is important for them.
Okay, good. And so what would happen then? You're right on. What would happen if I had written in here basement, backyard, bathrooms, master bedroom, blah, 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 whatever?
Those are the things that you would be looking for, not what the customer's looking for.
Okay, good. Yeah. And so I'm going to say that a little differently, but you're right on. Essentially, what it means, what would happen is you'll talk about that feature. You'll ask them to tell you about that feature. Now, what's going to happen if I ask them to tell me about the feature, but that feature is really not important to them?
They're gonna get overloaded. Not remember what they really want.
Then all of a sudden they're gonna be like, oh, we have all these other things too that we need to have. And then you have a huge list of things and not all the houses that qualify for that huge list, when you could be finding houses with the few things that they really want, and they'll have a lot more options.
Okay, good. You guys are really close, really close.
Always,
Yeah,
Russ.
you
I'm
know,
always
you're
close.
you're close. It's
Never
good
hit it.
enough. So, yeah, what's gonna happen is if I said, so actually, let's do it this way. Watch this. So, Abe, tell me a part of the house, a feature of the house, a room in a house that really you don't care about.
a dining room.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, let's talk about a formal dining or something. Okay, now I don't know how he's gonna respond. So, but let's say, and so maybe I shouldn't even have done one that you don't care about, because I probably will not get the response that I'm thinking I will get by saying one you don't care about. But if it's one that's really not as important to you, so maybe give me something that's just not, it wouldn't be top of the list, but might be a little important.
Relaxing room.
Okay, so let's say then that we're talking and I said, hey, if let's say that I had written in here that room, relaxing room, whatever, I'm gonna say, hey, so, okay, hey, so tell me about the room that you can go in and relax. Tell me what would be important on there.
A really nice couch. Probably the view was probably the most important, like the nice view of river. Outside access, maybe like a patio type thing. And speakers.
Speakers, okay,
Probably the biggest. A
Okay.
bookshelf.
cool. Okay, it's good. I'm getting a pretty good picture. What else?
Soft blanket.
A soft blanket. Okay, cool.
Speaker, soft blanket, bookshelf. That's probably it.
Okay, good. So now I remember when I'm doing this, when I say, describe for me your ideal home, and they start to talk, what I'm going to do then is once they stop, I'm going to say, hey, that's great. And I may repeat back a few of the things they said, and I'm going to say, what else? Or keep going, say more. Now, look at what just happened though. That we just grabbed a feature of the home that really isn't that important to him. So now, like I said, we're probably not going to have a relaxing room written on here anyway, but let's assume that was the kitchen, that he really didn't care too much about a kitchen. But I said, hey, describe for me what your kitchen's going to look like. They're going to now tell you what they would want the kitchen to look like. But what if they don't really care about the kitchen? See, what it creates is now I go out and start focusing on and looking for things in the home that they don't care about. Now, where it gets even worse though, is if for whatever reason, the kitchen wasn't important to you, but it is to me, guess what I'm really going to focus on when we go out and look at houses? The kitchen. Now, remember, go ahead.
Keep going. I'll go.
Okay, remember there's the top 3 complaints. We don't return their calls, we don't listen, and we waste their time. This is where this comes from, of that we don't listen and we waste their time, is we will ask them about a feature of a house that's important to us. They will respond because to some extent, you're the authority if you're the agent. They're looking to you as the authority. And so if you ask the question, they're typically going to answer it, even if it doesn't make any sense. No different than, well, so hold on. Have you, let me ask a question first. So, and for you guys on Zoom too, some of you were here on Tuesday somewhere. And so for you two that are here in the room, have you guys heard me ask the question of if I wanted to go know what was going on a mile down the road, do you ask a giraffe or a turtle?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you heard me do that?
No.
Okay, so I know there's some on Zoom that haven't. So you guys that are on Zoom that haven't heard, answer, and Aiden, you answer. If I wanted to know what's going on a mile down the road, should I ask a giraffe or a turtle?
Assuming a giraffe.
Okay. And so for you guys that are on Zoom that weren't here on Tuesday, so Brielle, I know I'm calling you out because I know you said you weren't.
Okay,
Who would you ask? A giraffe or a turtle?
I've already heard you do that, so I don't.
Oh,
wanna
you have.
answer.
So then don't answer.
I can't.
Has anybody else on Zoom not heard it? All right, I guess everybody else must have heard it. Okay, so Aiden, you're in. Now, the correct answer is I wouldn't ask either of them because they can't talk, so they wouldn't be able to tell me anyway. Now, but notice, so here's the point though. So using that again, if I ask a question, because the client is looking to you as the authority, if you ask a question, they're probably going to answer the question, even if it doesn't make sense. No different than because I'm standing up here and saying, if you want to go out and know what's going on a mile down the road, you're going to ask a giraffe or a turtle. You're like, oh, okay, let's see. Well, probably a giraffe because it has a long neck.
Yeah.
Or people will say the turtle because it's, the tortoise and the hare, that it wins, whatever. The same concept though. If you ask a question that doesn't really make sense because they're looking to you as the authority, they're going to answer the question, even if it doesn't really make sense. Okay. All right. So that's why we don't have anything filled in here. We're going to only build into here based upon what they tell me. That's why we start with describe for me your ideal home. See, every question that you ask somebody has an assumption in it. Every question you ever ask anybody has an assumption in it. So our objective in this, in me saying, describe for me your ideal home, is to stay as neutral as I can, meaning to not have any, I want to remove as much assumptions from the questions as I can, okay? So I'm staying as neutral as I can. Describe for me your ideal home. Then from there, they're going to start talking. I'm going to say what else, keep going, say more. Now, for you guys on Zoom that were here Tuesday, how do I know that I'm done with this? Meaning, I'm going to say, describe for me your ideal home. What else, keep going. And then every time they stop talking, I'm going to say again, what else, or keep going, or say more, until when? How do I know when to stop?
They'll tell you, they'll just be like, I think that's it.
Perfect. Good. That's right. They're going to say, I don't know what else to say. I can't think of anything else. That should do it. Something like that. Okay. That's how we're going to know we're done with this. Now, before we go on to tool 2, though, there's 2 things that we need to do first. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at this grid. And I want to look at the grid to figure out, off of this grid, have they given me a ton of information? And so what I mean by that is this. Occasionally, they may say, when I say, describe for me your ideal home, they may say, I want a kitchen, and the kitchen needs to be large, and it's got to have an island bar, and it's got to have whatever, an island sink, and it's got to have tons of storage and a big pantry, and all of that stuff I'm going to be writing here. And then I either say what else, or they just already tell me. And the family room's got to be large enough to have this huge sofa, and I got this TV, and I got that, and I'm writing it down. And then they get to the backyard, and they say the backyard needs to be big enough that we can have a patio because we want a hot tub, and I need to put a garden, and I need a bunch of big trees, and blah, 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 stuff about the backyard. Then let's say that they just kind of casually mentioned the basement needs to have at least 2 bedrooms. Okay. And then they moved on to the garage, and they say the garage needs to be big enough to store 2 cars, and I don't know what else. I don't know. Let's say that's good. Sorry, go ahead.
About.
Oh, a boat. Okay.
That's what I was gonna say. Funny.
Okay, good. And then boat. Okay. Now, let's say that they also just kind of mentioned I don't know, I'm trying to think of another feature of the, 4 bedrooms. Something like that, okay? So before I move on, once they've said that's about it, I don't know what else to say, I want to look at my grid, and what I'm looking for is that I have a bunch of information in each of the boxes. So what I want to do is stop and look at the ones that don't have very much information. And before I move on to tool number 2, I want to come back and just give them a chance to tell me more. Now, let me pause again and ask the question of, why are we doing all this?
Find out what matters to them.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Story time with Samantha. Talk loud so they can hear you.
Okay, so I'm the worst present giver to my husband, and he's the best for me. And here's
Really?
why.
Usually it's the other way around.
Nope.
Okay.
And here's why. It's because I get really nervous, and I'm like, hey, what should I get him? It has to mean something. He has to like it. And then I think, okay, oh, one time he said that he liked magnets. So I'll get him a bunch of like cool magnets, and he'll love it, and it'll be so fun. And then I'll get him that present, and then he'll be like, I'm grateful, but I only said that I like magnets like one time. Why aren't you listening to all the other things I've been talking about forever? And it happens so much. I'm like, oh, you like stopwatches, and that's, I got you this because like you love stopwatches. And he's like, I mean, I like stopwatches, but they're not my favorite thing ever. I mean, I'm using different
Yes, sure.
examples, but it kind of, it's like makes me, it reminds me of this situation where it's like, instead of listening to stuff that he really, really wants, and I focus in on, oh, he said that one time, and he mentioned that one time, instead of all the other stuff that has lots of information about it. And yeah.
Okay, good. So good. That's a good point though. So here's what I would say. So what we want to do before we go on to tool number 2 is we want to look at this, and if there is very little information, so this is perfect what you said. What I want to do is I want to check to see, is there more to it, or is it just a kind of a statement? So what I would do is then I would say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, whoever it was that said it, I'm going to say, you mentioned 4 bedrooms. Tell me more about the 4 bedrooms. Now, so now using Samantha's example of the stopwatches, if it was really not that big of a deal, they're going to go, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I think they're cool, but like that's about it. So when I say, so you mentioned 4 bedrooms, tell me more about the 4 bedrooms. And they said, oh, well, we have 3 kids, and so we need 4 bedrooms. And then I would say, oh, okay, so you got 3 kids, that's great. So what else on the bedrooms? And they're going to say, we just need 4 of them. See, if they said that, what are they telling you about the bedrooms?
Just saying for the kids. And that's it.
Yeah, they're not that, it doesn't
It's
matter.
not important, as long as there's 4.
As long as there's 4, that's right. As long as there's 4, we're good. But if I said to them, okay, so tell me about the 4 bedrooms, and they said this. So we have 2 kids and we want each of them to have their own bedroom. But one of the bedrooms needs to be big enough that I can fit a desk in it because I work from home and I'm going to spend a lot of time there. And so, so one of the bedrooms will be an office. Oh, okay. So you need 2 for the kids and 1 for an office. What else? Well, I mean, the bedroom needs to be big enough. And if they start giving you more and more detail on it, then it's probably pretty important. Does that make sense? So ultimately what I'm doing on these ones that don't have much information is I just want to give them a chance to tell me more about that feature. If it matters. If it doesn't matter, they're going to just say stuff like, oh, well, we just have 3 kids. And so we need, we want them to each have their own room. Okay, what else? That's it. So what they're telling you is that though they aren't that important, meaning it's important that they have 3, but, or 4, I guess, but it doesn't matter beyond that. Okay, so we good? So I'm just going to check in. So if I did that with the bedroom, then I would go to the basement and say, hey, okay, you mentioned the basement. Tell me more about the basement. So notice I wouldn't, even if what they said to me is basement and 2 bedrooms, I'm not going to say you mentioned the basement and 2 bedrooms, tell me more, because if I say you mentioned the basement and 2 bedrooms, tell me more, what are they going to tell me more about?
The basement and 2 bedroom.
The 2 bedrooms. But if I just say, hey, you mentioned the basement, tell me more about the basement, now I'm leaving it more wide open for them to tell me whatever they want to tell me. Just as far as, yeah, about the basement. So, but if I said, you mentioned 2 bedrooms in the basement, tell me more about that. They're going to say only about the 2 bedrooms. So you want to stay as neutral as you can of just, hey, you mentioned the basement, tell me more about the basement. And then they're going to go, oh, well, yeah, I mentioned 2 bedrooms. And so, yeah, we want to be able to have 1 for storage and 1 for a guest room or whatever. And then they'll start to, we want a family room because we got all these games, blah, 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 whatever. And I just want to get as much information as I can on each of these. Now, I don't think I really dealt with the way you guys answered my last question. Why do we want all this information? Aiden said it, but nobody else did. Good.
What does that mean?
See, Samantha's got the answer. She doesn't know what it means. Crystallization basically is, here's what we had said, is that the pictures are stored in one area, decisions and the feelings. So when when you hear a buyer say to you, I don't know how to explain it, but I'll know it when I see it, because you're going to hear that a lot from people. I don't know how to explain it, but I'll know it when I see it. What they're saying is the information's there. It's just in these discrete locations, and I got to get it to come back together. When that happens is when crystallization occurs. Now, I know I keep asking this, but this is so crucial that you guys understand it. Why is it important that they crystallize?
That evokes emotion, and emotion gets people to do things.
Okay,
They buy the house.
good. They're not gonna buy until they crystallize. So without this process, every buyer of a house that goes out and buys a house only does it after they crystallize. They have to crystallize or they're not gonna buy. They won't make a decision. Every decision in your life that you make, crystallization has to occur. Now, I mentioned on Tuesday, every crystallization is an aha moment. No, sorry, I said that backwards. Every aha moment is crystallization, but not every crystallization is an aha moment. Okay, but crystallization has to occur in order for that to take place. And so the reason we're getting all this information, and just as a reminder, tool number 1 here is designed around getting them to access the pictures part of the brain. Okay. And it'll sometimes bleed into decisions as well. But typically, the describe for me your ideal home is getting them to tell us what they've pictured about the home. Okay. So we good with tool number 1? Any questions before I move on? Okay. Now, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move from here over to tool number 2. So number 2 is what we call modifiers. Okay. The modifiers are going to be who, what, when, where, how. Now, you will notice one missing from that list. What are you noticing is missing from that list?
Why?
Greatest question ever. Why?
Yeah, why? We don't have why on this list. Who, what, when, where, and how. The reason we don't have why included in this list is because the why is going to really be what brings in crystallization. So we don't, if you ask the why too soon, so if you said, well, why do you want the backyard like that? They're going to say, I just do. I don't know. I mean, it'd be great, be perfect. Just what I want. It's what I've always needed. Well, that doesn't bring out the benefit. Remember, when they crystallize, we land on what the benefit is. So they're telling us a feature they're looking for, but it's really the benefit. The way we're going to get to the benefit is through this process. And if you ask the why too soon, the why is just, they're not going to crystallize if you ask it too soon. So that's why we don't have why here. Okay, so now watch this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I first need to, before I go to tool number 2, I need to rank what they've talked about. Okay. So what that looks like is this. So I'd be saying, so Aiden, I've got a really good picture of your home, what you've talked about. Of all of these things we've talked about, what are the 2 or the 3 that are most important? Just make it up.
The kitchen.
Okay, so the kitchen.
The office.
And okay, I didn't write office anywhere. So down here, office. Okay, perfect. So of those 2, which one's most important?
Probably the kitchen.
Okay, so kitchen's number 1 and then the office number 2. Okay, now look at this. Now watch what happened here. Notice what I said to him is, of everything we've talked about, what are the 2 or the 3 that are most important? By asking it that way, what are the 2 or the 3? How many is he going to give me?
I gave you 2, so I mean.
Yeah, notice that he gave me 2. When I said give me the 2 or the 3, he gave me 2. So typically though, if I say give me the 2 or the 3, how many are they going to give me? 2 or 3, right? Remember, part of what we're having a discussion about here is how language works and communication. If I say give me the 2 or the 3, so let me ask it this way. If I say give me the 2 or the 3, what's the message I'm communicating to them?
What are the most important things to you?
Good. Say that louder so they can hear you.
What are the most important things that you need to know?
Yeah. See, essentially what I'm saying is, what are the things that are like the non-negotiables? But you don't want to say it that way, because in their mind at this point, all of that is non-negotiable. So instead I say, what are the 2 or the 3 that are most important? Then from there, they're going to give me 2 or 3. Now, here's the thing. If there are 4 that are important, they'll give me 4. But by asking it, give me the 2 or the 3, I find out what are the things that are the non-negotiables. Okay. Now, again, just to make sure you guys understand this, how communication and stuff works. If I said, so watch this, rewind, forget we did that, okay? All right, Aiden, I've got a great picture of everything we talked about. What's the most important?
The kitchen,
Okay, and then what would be second most important?
probably the office.
Okay, and then what would be third?
Probably the living room at that point.
Okay, so now notice, how many did I get by doing it that way? 3, but why did I go with 3? Because I decided, remember is it okay if we let them buy the house that they want, not the one we think they should have? This is another example of how we get in the way of it. Because now I just created 3 when there's really only 2. Now, let me just remind you guys from what we talked about before. On these benefits that we're talking about here, people buy in 2s and 3s. So what that means is this. When a person goes and buys a house, they are going to buy a home that has 2 or 3 of the benefits they're looking for in that home. Okay. That's if there are 2 or 3 benefits they're looking for, they'll buy the home. If there are not, they won't buy it. Rick, quit. You have got to quit abusing my students before they come to class.
Abusing?
I know.
I did not.
She didn't say
that.
abusing. She said that you were talking, and I was like,
I
yeah,
know,
tell
I
them you got to
just-
get to class.
Oh, I'm bad at it. Matter of fact, I think I kept her over probably half hour, wasn't it?
Not quite.
No, 15
It
minutes.
was 15.
Not
I'm just
too bad.
kidding. She just walked in and blamed you, so.
Oh, I'm glad she did,
Absolutely.
because it was my fault.
Even though I walked in there.
Yeah, okay. So they buy in 2s and 3s. So just remember, the key thing that you guys got to see from this is what we're doing is we're starting with describe for me your ideal home, and they're giving us everything. We're trying to get everything we can get out of them, as much information. And I'm going to build it onto this grid. What?
You're really into your,
Am I?
yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to get as much information as I can. Once I've done that, because in the beginning, everything's important. Everything they're talking about in the house is important. But now I'm going to start to distill it down by saying, okay, of all of those things, what are the 2 or 3?
I don't know why Vanna White's coming into mind.
Oh my
Get over
God.
here.
Sorry for you guys on Zoom, you're missing out. This is why you should be here in person. But I'm going to say, what are the 2 or 3 that are most important? Because I want to distill it down to everything's important to just the 2 or the 3 that are important. Okay. Now, any questions on that part? I got to start like leaving stuff out intentionally, because I say any questions and one of 2 things. Either I explain it really, really good, or you're like, I don't even know what he's talking about. So how do I ask a question?
Very true.
Which one?
Both of them sometimes.
Okay.
Most of the times you explain it really good.
Okay, thank you. How about on Zoom? You guys good? Ready for the next piece?
We're good.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to have them rank. Now that they've ranked them, so we'll just use what Aiden did here, the kitchen and the office. What I'm going to do now is with the modifiers, I am going to take that box, the first one, which is the kitchen here, and we're going to now use modifiers on the most important feature, whatever it was for them. Okay, so again, notice I did 2 or 3. Once he gave me 2 or 3, then I ranked them, which one's number 1 and which one's number 2. Which, when they only give you 2, you don't have, you could just say which one's number 1, and by default, the other one's number 2. Okay. Now that I've got it though, now I'm going to ask him questions. Now here's the key on this. You typically are going to need to ask somewhere between 5 and 7 modifiers. So I'm going to be asking, come on in. I'm going to be asking questions that are modifier related related that are who, what, when, where, how question. She was here on Tuesday, so she poked her head in and was like, yeah, I'm not coming to that
Yeah.
class.
She like pointed at me or are you or something, and then, yeah, just close the door. I was like,
Oh,
okay. I don't
maybe
know.
she, I don't know, maybe she felt like she was too late, but whatever. Okay, now what I'm gonna do though, is I'm gonna take that kitchen and I'm gonna ask questions that are who, what, when, where, how questions, or I can also use directives. So think of it this way. Here's how I like to do it. I'm gonna start with another directive, and then I'm gonna come over here to the modifiers. So watch this. So here's what it would look like, is I would say 80. Hey, great, that's awesome. Let's talk about the kitchen first. Now watch what I do. Watch how the instruction that I give to his brain. So Aiden, picture yourself in the kitchen. Tell me what you see. Okay, so now what's going to happen then is he's going to start to talk about the kitchen. And he's going to start to tell me pieces of the kitchen. And I'm going to have you do this in a second, okay? But what I want you guys on Zoom, and Samantha, you to pay attention to, as he starts to describe the kitchen, pay attention to what kind of questions could we ask that are who, what, when, where, how questions. Does that make sense?
Are these emotion questions, like
No,
who would benefit of this kitchen?
nope, not emotion. These are more logic. Okay, so but you, for you right now, I'm just gonna have you be the buyer.
Yeah.
Okay, so watch this. So I say, okay, Aiden, got a good picture. You said that the kitchen's number one. Let's talk about the kitchen. So picture, so I'm starting with a directive. Picture yourself in the kitchen. Tell me what you see. Now you guys pay attention to think of what questions can we ask based on this.
I see dark granite countertops with a long bar. I have a really fancy cutting board with all my really nice knives, and really big refrigerator with lots of space. My coffee maker and my toaster.
Okay, cool. What else? Now, the only reason I'm asking what else right now is because we didn't actually really do it over here. So I'm gonna just try to get more information. So what else?
Really nice table too. I can feed a lot of people. And garbage can that's not in a cupboard.
That's not in a cupboard.
Yes, I hate when
Really?
Okay, cool. Okay, good. Now, based on that, what he had said, what questions can you think of that we would want to ask that are who, what, when, where, or how questions that would just, now remember what we're doing is we're taking now from what he's pictured and we're going to go find out the decisions he's made about it. So the questions I want to ask now are more about what are the decisions he's made about this, okay? So the who, what, when, where, how question.
So like, where would you want your table to be in relation to your
Perfect.
kitchen?
Great, okay, good. So where would you want the table to be in relation to the kitchen?
out of the cooking area. That's probably about
And it
it.
comes in a separate room.
No, in the same room, but
Okay.
just away from like the cooking area.
Okay, good. So what other questions? And I picked up 3 things that I'll tell you guys that will help you as well in a minute. But what else would we want to ask?
What about like if they entertain a lot or host things a lot?
Okay, so how would you say that? But it has to start with who, what, when, where, how.
How often do you have company over or
Perfect.
something like that?
Yeah, great question. So how often do you have people over?
Not too much, but when I have family over, I like to cook for them. So maybe like, once a week, maybe once every few weeks.
Okay, so once a week, every few weeks. Okay, good.
What do you like to cook? Do you think you need 2 ovens?
Okay, so hold on. Great question. But what we wanted, don't ask, do you think you need? Because that doesn't start with here. So ask it again, but leave off the do you think you need?
So I started with what do you like to cook?
Perfect. Leave it at that. For now, leave it at just what do you like to cook? And then based on that, you could say how many ovens do you want? But what we want to avoid during the modifiers piece is yes, no questions. Like, do you want 2 ovens? So, because that's going to be just a yes or no. So we want to stay into only open-ended, who, what, when, where. Every question has to start with this. So great question. What do you cook?
Everything. Everything.
Okay. Cool. What other, well, let me actually help you guys on a couple of things. Part of what you want to pay attention to while they're talking is you want to look for when they use words like this. He said a really long table. Okay, now remember what we've talked about before about how we have our own assumptions. See, when he says a really long table, every one of you has a picture in your mind of what that means. But
What does
your,
it mean to you?
that's right,
How long
your
is it?
picture of what a really long table is may not be the same as his. So you want to ask a question that would be that. So go ahead.
How long is the table?
Perfect. So how long would the table be?
Probably sitting at least, 6 to 10 people.
Okay, good. So now here's the question for you guys, Zoom and you, Samantha. When he said long table, how many people did you picture would be sitting at that table?
10 to 12.
Okay. What about you guys on Zoom when he said that? Long table.
10.
Okay, so notice that so far we got kind of the 10 to 12, but he was what?
6 to 10.
Yeah, so
10's probably good.
yeah, 10's probably good. But here's the key thing. So let me tell you guys a quick story of this, where this came from. Why I'm saying you want to do this. I had one time that this was a real, I was sitting down with a real potential buyer, said, tell me about the kitchen, blah, blah, blah. She said, I want a big kitchen. See, if they use words like that, big, I want a big kitchen. Well, okay, I know what big means to me, but I need to know what it means to them. So what I want to be asking is, okay, you mentioned a big kitchen. How big is a big kitchen? So here's what happened. Now, this will be harder for you guys that are on Zoom. I'll kind of give you dimensions. But one of the things you want to do if you're sitting down with a buyer and you said to them, hey, you mentioned a big kitchen. How big is a big kitchen? Now, all of you have a picture in your mind of what a big kitchen would look like, but it may not be the same as theirs. So with this lady, I said, okay, you mentioned a big kitchen. How big is the kitchen? And a lot of times what people will say is, well, I don't know how to give you dimensions. In which case I say, well, in relation to this room, what's a big kitchen? Now, I will tell you for me, and like I said, for you guys on Zoom won't mean as much. But if somebody says a big kitchen to me, this size of room is what I'm picturing is like, that's a big kitchen to me.
Oh, it's a huge kitchen.
But yeah, see, Sam said it's a
Crazy.
huge one for her.
That's huge.
Now, in my mind though, and maybe it is a little bigger than what I would picture as a big kitchen, but I said to this lady, in relation to this room then, how big is a big kitchen? And again, I'll give you guys dimensions, but she said, about like this. Now, do you picture that as a big kitchen?
No.
So what would you say the dimensions are of that? 8 by 8 or something?
By 5.
Yeah, so here's the interesting thing. Like, no lie, she was like, I don't know about like that. And I was like, that is not a big kitchen. But here's what she said. When I said, in relation to this room, how big is a big kitchen? And she said, oh, about like that. She said, then here's what she said. Where we live right now, both my husband and I can't be in the kitchen at the same time. Like one of us couldn't be cooking and one washing dishes at the same time. There's not enough room. It's too tight. So all the in order for it to be a big kitchen, one person needs to be able to do dishes while the other person's cooking. And if we can do that, that's big. See, so just know when they say big, you got to follow up on it. Because otherwise what happens is they say they want a big kitchen. You're picturing this room. They're picturing this, and then you find out that they can qualify for what, 400,000, and you're like, you're not getting this big of a kitchen. But for 400,000, you'd get a big enough kitchen for what they want, what she wanted. Does that make sense? The other thing he mentioned is he said, I can't remember where, I don't know if it was the storage or the fridge or something. You said to store a lot of stuff or something. I don't know.
Much stuff.
Anyway, doesn't, just whenever they say stuff like big,
Stored in the
yeah,
fridge.
storage in the fridge. Okay, so yeah, so what did you say about that?
I need a lot of like freezer space.
Yeah, I need a lot of freezer space. Okay, so you mentioned a lot of freezer space. Tell me more about that.
I probably need I mean, I want a lot of fridge space. And then probably like an external freezer in like my garage, like a open freezer, or just another freezer I can put stuff in.
So
Okay.
then the freezer doesn't matter as much.
2 freezers.
Yeah, so notice that the information. So now what other questions can we ask that are who, what, when, where, how questions? About that.
You're not looking for questions like how is having 2 fridges gonna benefit you? or
No, when we do that is gonna get us to the benefit. I'm not there yet. I'm still trying to create crystallization. In order to do that, I gotta get them picturing it, getting the decisions, and then we can get to
What
it.
type of fridge do you want inside your house?
Okay, that would be fine. So what type of fridge?
A big one, I don't know. I'm not really I don't care about brands.
So what is big to you?
Okay, good. So what is big?
Probably a 2-door, be like this big.
Okay, so he said like this big,
Okay.
guys. Okay, good. So now notice though, let me give you some other ideas of things that you could ask that are based on this is, what appliances are gonna be in the kitchen?
In the kitchen, I need a big fridge, toaster, definitely a cast iron collection, coffee maker, coffee grinder, and a toaster oven and a microwave.
Okay, so, and I can't remember if we asked this or not already, but in relation to the rest of the house, where would the kitchen be?
Probably on the main floor where the front door is, or somewhere on that main floor, maybe in the back.
Okay, so just main floor mostly is what.
Yeah, main
matters.
floor.
Okay, and, how often did you say that you're in there cooking?
Every day.
Okay.
I'm cooking every day.
You're, okay, good. So, but notice, I'm just, who else is gonna be there? So he had mentioned 6 or 10 people or whatever, okay? We already did, how often do you have people over? He said once a week to every couple of weeks. Okay, so who is it that you end up having over?
Family, there's like 7 people in my family. And then just when friends come over, so that's kind of random, but for family, we have at least 7.
Okay, good. So notice all these questions. So you want to be asking somewhere between 5 and 7 of these questions. Now, here's the thing. What's important is not 5 to 7. What's important is, why are we doing this?
Crystallized. That's what I would be thinking. After like,
Crystallized.
probably 4 questions, I'll be like, what is the point of this? Why are we doing this? Like, that's what I would think as a buyer.
Yeah, well, and part of that is you missed part of what we talked about on Tuesday, which is the permission part. And so as permission is, hey, so I would have said, hey, Aiden, in order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, I need to ask you some questions, and some of them may be personal, maybe things you haven't considered. Is that going to be okay?
Sure.
And then I'm now jumping into, okay, describe for me your ideal home. So, and now you guys are seeing why on the permission that I will say to them, in order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, need to ask you some questions. They may feel personal, maybe things you haven't considered. Is that going to be okay? Well, because now I'll notice that I'm getting pretty personal on some of these questions. Who's going to use it? How often? What are you doing with it? What does it, the other things you can ask is what would the flooring be?
Probably just like laminate, easy clean, be laminate tile, or even just the fake wood.
Okay.
cover.
And
Probably fake wood cover.
what type of cabinets?
I'm not really picky. I do like knobs on them. I don't like the knobless ones. I feel like they're weird to open. But I'm not really picky on color. Maybe gray or black or white or doesn't
Okay,
matter.
see, notice how much information I get by just, asking this. So I'm gonna be doing that. So the purpose of me asking all these questions is I'm trying to create crystallization. So the most important thing is I need to ask enough of these questions that I'm causing crystallization to start to happen. Okay,
When
so
are you doing this? Like on your first meeting with them, or like your first showing maybe?
yeah, good question. Ideally, you want to do it in an ideal world. I'm going to do it in the office. So typically for me is I would use showing a property as a way to set an appointment to do this, but you could do it on your first appointment with them. I just wouldn't do it if the home is occupied. I wouldn't try to do it in an
That takes,
occupied
like,
house, because
25
Cause,
minutes.
yeah, or longer, so. But so here's the key. I want to make sure you guys understand this. You gotta ask enough questions of this to get them picturing the home, otherwise they won't crystallize. Make sense? Okay. Now that I've done that, then I can come over, again, when I say done that, meaning I've asked enough. And in fact, let me even say it this way. I have had times where I have asked 15 or 20 of these questions. Like I gotta ask as many as it takes to get them crystallizing. That's the important thing. Go
And
ahead.
is this, so how you start would be, okay, tell me your 2 or 3 must-haves, and they go, oh, I need to have a kitchen, I need to have an office. And then you go, okay, let's start on the kitchen. Describe to me what your dream kitchen looks like. And then you start going through that. And you get into this, like how, you only want to do that with the 3 things they love? or-
Yes.
Okay.
I'm only gonna do it with the 2 or 3 features that they, yes. And so I'm starting with number 1, and I'm gonna go through the modifiers on number 1, and then I'm gonna come over here to to our third tool number 3, which is the tag. Okay, and the tag is, what does blank mean to you? Or why is blank important? Okay. So that's what I'm doing, because then when I get to the tag here, should bring the emotion part of it in. Meaning. Looks like it says mean. What does that mean to you? Mean. Yeah. So now I don't know that we like, are you making this stuff up or are you being like realistic?
Pretty serious.
Okay, good.
I need a big kitchen.
Okay, good. So if he's being serious, right, we should be able to get to a benefit. If he was making it up, then like it's not really gonna work. So here's how I'm gonna find out if I've asked enough modifiers. So Aiden, I've got a good picture of this kitchen. What does having that kitchen that you just talked about, what does having that mean to you?
It's just something I really like. I'm passionate about. I really that. I want to have like a really neat knife collection and just access to a nice clean kitchen to cook for myself. My health's pretty serious, so I can make healthy foods and cook for myself. It saves me money too.
Okay, good. So now you'll notice on that at first, he just said it's really important, which was leading me at first to believe I didn't ask enough questions. And I'm not sure, because if they say stuff like, oh, it'd be great, it's just what I want, that means I didn't ask enough of modifiers. Now, I have an idea, but let me find out here. So, okay, good. I get a good picture, but why is that important?
Kitchen. That's just kind of my happy place. I want very organized, very clean. I want it to flow good when I'm cooking. I want people, I don't want to be bumping into people. So, but mostly, like I said, help make food for myself, keep myself healthy, save money.
Okay,
That's why I really need a big kitchen. But
so it sounds like, if I understand you correctly, that really what the important part of this kitchen is your health.
and
Yes.
I guess the Zen, yes.
Okay, see, that's where part of what I'm doing is if I don't get a resounding yes, that wasn't it. Okay, so health is one of the benefit words, but that's not what it is. So what is it that you're really looking for? You started to say something.
Just like the Zen, like I said, I want everything to flow good, and I want to feel good in my kitchen, and I want there to be a place for everything, and it not to be cluttered. And that's kind of what I'm really looking for.
Okay, so now on this, I've got 1 of 2 other benefits where I'm not sure yet still. So here's how I'd handle it. Okay, so it sounds like then really what we're looking for in this kitchen, if you can have it the way you've talked about, is going to create convenience for you.
Yeah.
So no, that still wasn't it. So is it more about the feeling?
But also that's kind of Aiden's personality too, is the
It's
way he's
the
talking.
vibe.
That's true, but okay, so really it's more that feeling that what you're looking for in that kitchen is kind of just the, yeah, I guess vibe's the right word.
Yeah, like how it feels, how it looks, the cleanliness and the order of everything. I want everything to have a place, and I want my fridge to be clean all the time and organized, and my knives all.
So,
There.
so when it has that, when everything's organized in its place, what does that do for you?
It makes me happy and at peace.
Okay, at peace. Okay, good. So ultimately, now here's the thing. The word, the benefit he's talking about, which don't get caught up on the word that I'm going to give to you because it's more about the feeling. But what I would describe that is as comfort.
That's probably spot on.
Yeah, so ultimately what I would say, ultimately what you're looking for in this kitchen is comfort. Okay, see, that was the way, when you ask this, so after the tag, you're gonna summarize, if they don't say a benefit word, you are then going to summarize back to them. So if I understand you correctly, what you're looking for in the kitchen was, and then I said health. And if they kind of go, you didn't get it. In which case is okay, you just say, okay, no, so ultimately what it told me is I didn't ask enough questions up here. Because we didn't ever get into how it feels in some of these questions, but I'm also doing this very disjointed, okay? But what I'm looking for then is the benefit. Now, here's the key. When I go out and show him a property now, I'm not going to talk about the features of the kitchen. I'm going to talk about the zen of the kitchen. Does this kitchen feel like it's going to give you that feeling you're looking for in the kitchen?
No.
See, that's what you talk about when you show the property, not the features of the kitchen. You're not going to point out oh, look, it's got the large refrigerator. Like, if the kitchen gives him that comfort, that zen feeling, then he's good. He'll buy it. It doesn't have to have the exact features we've talked about.
Feeling.
That's right. You follow me?
Yeah.
Okay. Then once I've landed on that, then I would come down to the office and I would say, Aiden, you mentioned the office. Picture yourself in the office. Tell me what you see. He would start to tell me. Then I'm going to ask them, who's going to use it? How often to use it? Where's it going to be? What's going to be in the office? How's it going to be laid out? You mentioned, what's the flooring? What color are the walls? Like, just whatever questions you want to ask that are who, what, when, where, how questions. And minimum of 5 to 7. Once I've done that, then I'm going to say, okay, Aiden, so what does having that office mean to you? He should then either say one of the benefit words or talk around one of the benefit words. In which case I would say, so if I understand you correctly, what you're looking for in the office is whatever the benefit is. Okay. So now let's do the benefit words. Okay. Let me give you those. All right. There's 15 of them. Okay. So here are the first benefit word I usually use actually is comfort. Think of it this way. Comfort is more a sense of ease. So think of it as creature comfort. Does that make sense? So comfort is a sense of ease. Okay. So that's comfort. The next one is convenience. Convenience is ease of use. Okay. So that's where when he was saying everything's in its place, I was thinking he was maybe meaning convenience. Okay. But by it being in its place gives him the comfort. Okay. Next is health. So one of them could be, so if somebody said, I want a one story home, and the reason they do is because they have bad knees or whatever, they have their knees replaced, that could be health. That is what they're talking about. Okay. That's the benefit. Next is going to be safety. Now, these aren't in necessary. I'm just saying them as they come to my mind. Safety is about physical safety. Okay. Next one is security. Security is about peace of mind. So a lot of times what I'll see with this is a mom will say with young kids is, I want a fenced backyard so that the kids can go out and play in the backyard. And we think, oh, well then, so it's what you're looking for is safety. But it's not real, it's safety for the kids, but what does it do for the mom?
Yeah.
It's peace of mind, it's security. So really this, if they're talking about their physical safety, then it's probably safety. But if they're talking about the kids, for them, it's really peace of mind that the kid's not gonna run out in the street and get hit by a car, okay? All right, next, value. Value is about making money. So value would be about making, buying the home and being able to sell it for a profit, something like that. Economy is about saving money. So values, making money, economy is saving money. If they start talking about, thick insulation and high efficient furnace, they're talking about economy, saving money, okay? Next, recreation. Recreation, which on Tuesday I talked about, this is one of the benefits I was looking for in the home that I bought. And so recreation is about going out and, having fun, whatever. Next one we talked about a little bit already today is entertain or entertainment. So to entertaining or entertainment would be a benefit that they're looking for in the home. Next, prestige or esteem. So prestige is how other people see me. Esteem would be how I see myself. Okay. So if I'm wanting this big home and this big kitchen, so when people come over, they're like, wow, I can't believe you lived here. That's prestige. If it's for me, hey, when I drive home at the end of the day and I see this big house, I want to be like, yeah, that's why I work so hard. That's going to be then it's about esteem. Okay. Let's see. Next, let's do aesthetics. The aesthetics is about how it looks. So it's the, typically if people start talking about crown molding, chair rail, certain type of brick, like the one time I had that, doesn't come up a lot, but the one time I did have this come up with a buyer, they were talking about they wanted an older home. And when I was asking them questions about it, they were like, I just want like those doorknobs that have etching. Like when they start talking about doorknobs and etching on doorknobs, that's going to be about the aesthetics of it. Okay. All right. Is anybody numbering them? You guys aren't even writing them down. So
No, I wasn't writing them down.
is anybody numbering them on Zoom? Where are we at? 1, 2, 3.
11.
Are there more important ones than others?
Okay, 11. Thank you. No, none are more important than others. Next then is love. Love is going to be about like if it's a scenario of the kids coming home from school and they're doing their homework and we're all kind of sitting around, or in the evening we all get together and talk about our day. That's going to be about I'm wanting to show my kids how much I love them. Okay. While we're on that, I guess we'll go to the next one. Sex. So that could be a benefit of what they're looking for of the future. It's
Well,
smiling.
just putting
It's
it
like,
like the
yes.
house, like what do you mean? Like, like a sex sharing the kitchen or something. Like, what do you mean?
So where that will come up a lot could be in the master bedroom, could be a hot tub. They want a hot tub and whatever. So I have had it come up before, only once, but I had that with a buyer where they were talking about the hot tub and their wife and spending time together. And anyway, so you don't have to say sex. So I wouldn't say, hey,
Just
so it
satisfy
sounds
your
like,
sexual needs.
yeah, it sounds like what you're looking for is a way to set us like, but I might say it as, hey, it sounds like what you're looking for with the hot tub then is a place to have some romance. I might say it romance, but just know that's what they're talking about is the benefit, okay, is sex. All right, let's see. What number are we on? So I got 2 more, right? Next one then is privacy. Privacy is, obviously pretty self-explanatory, but it's a place to get away. And then I think the last one then would be self-actualization. So self-actualization. Self-actualization, think of that as like from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's the very top, the pinnacle of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is self-actualization. So typically where that will show up is them wanting like a workshop or a place that they could paint or something like that, where it's like, well, what do you do with it? Well, nothing, but I just feel like I'm like doing what I was created for when I go and do that. That's self-actualization. Okay. So I guess when you say some more important than other, no, it's what's important to them. I will say there are some that, I'm gonna give you these actually on a printout. Okay, but you're welcome to take a picture.
Yeah, I'm writing them down over here.
I gave you crap for not writing them down, and I'm like, I'm gonna hand them to you.
what
in a
the
second.
heck?
Okay. So, but I would say there are some that come up more often than others. So I wouldn't say they're more important, but they come up more often. Meaning like very rare. I've only had this come up once. I've had that come up once, that come up once. The rest of these will come up fairly more consistently. But yeah, aesthetics I've only had once, sex once, and self-actualization once. So, all right, we good on the benefit words? Okay, so with that now, let me give you then this. Since you guys are here, I'll give you two.
What?
Yeah. All right, so you'll notice it's got, and I'm gonna, for you guys here on Zoom, I'm gonna throw it in the chat box here. Oh, Aubrey had a question. Is it 5 to 7 questions per feature? Yes. Per feature. All right, let me get this. I gotta connect here to my Dropbox. Google Drive.
So after we summarize back to them what we've heard about why the certain thing is important to them, then do we just kind of look over the benefits of what they said, and we don't necessarily need to tell them, but like,
Sorry, say it again. Sorry, I was still.
oh, you're totally fine. So after we find out why and like ask them why is having a big kitchen important to you and summarize back to them what we've heard, then after that, is that when we kind of circle
Yes.
the benefits, but we don't necessarily need to be like, oh, these are the benefits of that.
No, yeah, you're
So,
not, no.
This is, the benefits are just for us and for when we're looking at houses to be like, oh, does this provide you the security or the
Yes.
comfort that you
Yep,
want?
you're gonna talk about the benefit, not
Okay,
the
okay.
feature. Yep, you got it. Good,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay,
Russ, are you?
now, so once I've done that with the first one, then I would, so remember, to begin with, I'm getting everything. Directives, tool number 1 is get everything. Tool number 2 then is I'm only gonna do on the features that they've talked about. And I'm gonna start with the most important one, and I'm gonna ask between 5 and 7 of these modifiers to about that feature. Then I'm gonna say, what does having that mean to you, and should land on the benefit at that point. Then I go to number 2 at the modifiers. There's the second most important feature, do 5 to 7 modifiers. What does having that mean to you, should land on a benefit. Then if there's a third, I take the third one, do 5 to 7 modifiers. And again, there's no magic number. The reason I say 5 to 7 though, is because most people want to ask 2 or 3 and then try to get them to crystallize, and it won't probably work. So you have to ask as many as it takes to get them crystallizing, picturing the property, so that when you say, what does having it mean to you, they have become clear on what that is. Now that I've done that, okay, so assuming I've done that on 2 or 3, and I've got 2 or 3 of their benefits, because people buy in 2s and 3s. Once I've done that, then the next thing that I'm going to do, so number 4 here, is I'm going to talk to them about money. Okay, now here's what that looks like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically just ask them, what does, okay, I'm going to say to them, sorry, not what does. After we've landed on their 2 or 3 benefits, then I'm going to say, so Aiden, how do you plan to pay for this home? Now, you might already know the answer to this, and if you do, that's fine. But if you didn't, that I'm going to ask here. So, hey, I got a great picture. How do you plan to pay for the home?
I mean, I have to sell this home for sure first.
Okay, good. So what's going to happen is you're going to get one of 2 answers from this on how do you plan to pay for it. They're either going to say I'm paying cash or I'm getting a loan. Now, if they're paying cash, what do I want there? Proof of funds. If they're getting a loan, what do I want? Pre-approval letter. Good. So that's the money piece, okay? Then number 5 is, I just call this the how I work. Okay, so I'm gonna give them I'm gonna use a script now. So let me share that on the chat box here. I'm gonna use a script with them that is, let me tell you how I work. So let me get that and I'll upload it to the, so any of you guys that are on Zoom, if you're on your phone and you can't see this stuff that I'm giving to you, send me an email and I will send it to you. Okay. All right. Okay, good. Let me give you guys scripts now. So this is the script. Now let me tell you how I work script. Here's the idea of this. So if I have not already gotten them to sign a buyer broker, this script is designed around getting them to sign the buyer broker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, so let's do it again. So Hayden, how did you plan to pay for the home?
I'll just sell this home first.
Okay, so if that happens, I'm going to then stop and we're going to deal with probably selling his home first. But so let's take that out of the equation.
I have cash.
Okay, cash, perfect. So I just am going to need a letter from your bank saying you have funds in excess of, how much did you want to spend?
600,000.
600. Okay, good. I just need a letter from your bank on bank letterhead that says you have funds in excess of 600,000. So we don't need to know how much you have. It just need to know that you got more than 600. Sound good?
Yep.
Perfect. So let me tell you how I work. I'm going to go out and look at every home on the market in your price range, but I'm only going to show you the ones that actually meet your needs, the things we've talked about here. My experience.
I'm going to show everything that fits your benefits.
Yeah, that meets your needs. Yeah, you can
Meets
say
your needs,
benefits
probably.
either way. Yeah, that meets your needs. But in my experience, I'm going to have to look at 10 homes to find one that would work for you. So what that means is if we go look at 3 or 4 homes, I will have previewed 30 to 40 homes before we do that. I'm willing to commit the time to doing that, provided that during the time we're working together, you will commit to working exclusively with me. Okay? Great. I've got an agreement that just states that in writing for you to sign. Have them sign the buyer broker. Okay. So that's the let me tell you how I work script. Once I'm done with the let me tell you how I work script, the next piece of this is what's on there is what says after setting the appointment. So I'm just going to call it here the appointment script. Now, this appointment script is designed around prepping them for you to close them. Okay. So I'm not gonna, this one I don't do as well word for word. Like for the most part, that let me tell you how I work when I pretty much did it word for word. The after setting the appointment is more what I'm worried about is that you get the concept of it. Okay. So here's what I like to do on that one. The after setting the appointment is I'm going to basically say this. So, okay, Aiden, so when can you get me that the proof of funds letter?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay, good. So if you'll get me that tomorrow, how does looking at homes on Saturday work for you?
That works.
Okay, good. So on Saturday, Aiden, when we go out to look at homes, we're going out to actually find you a property. So after we go look at houses, after each house, I'm going to ask you if you want to buy the home. Now, a no is just as important to me as a yes. So I don't want you to feel pressured. I don't want you to feel like I'm pushing you to go and buy a home.
Mm-hmm.
But what I don't want to do is waste your time. Remember, we started this whole class Tuesday with top 3 complaints. We don't listen and we waste their time. I don't want to waste your time looking at homes that don't work for you. So after every home, I'm going to ask you if you want to write an offer, and a no is just as important to me as a yes. I just want to make sure that I've heard what's important to you. So when we go out on Saturday to look at homes, bring your checkbook because we're going to go find you a home. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Now look at what that just did.
But no one has checkbooks.
No, I know, but so you don't have to say. You can change it to checkbook.
Just
You know.
make sure you're ready to.
Yeah. Be prepared to write an offer.
Oh, okay, okay.
Be prepared to write an offer, and maybe we even then do talk about. So how are you going to
Like,
pay
put down
earnest money?
Earnest money?
Yeah.
Earnest money is the offer, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So Now, here's the thing though. What I just did is I just created a scenario that now, let's say it's Saturday. We get to the first house. We get there. Hey, how's it going, Aiden?
Good.
Awesome, good. Hey, I found some really good houses that I think are gonna work. Now, before we go inside, remember, after we get done looking at the house, I'm gonna ask you if you want to write an offer, and I'm not trying to pressure you. So a no is fine. I just want to make sure that I'm hearing what's important to you, okay? So let's go see it. Okay, we go look at the house. We come out. All right, hey, so is this one you would want to write an offer on?
No.
No? Okay, cool. So let's go take a look at the next one then. Okay, we jump in the car, we go to the next one. Come in. We walk out. All right, is this one you would want to write an offer on?
What if I go? I mean, it's pretty nice. I don't know.
So this one's
Probably.
maybe, or yes or no? Just maybe? Okay, well, let's go look at the third one then, and let's see what happens, okay? So we go to the third one, we come out. Is this one you'd want to write an offer on?
It's kind of the same as the last one. Like
Okay,
it's pretty nice, but
so kind of, so for sure, no on the first one.
yeah, definitely no on that one.
So of the second and third one, if you had to choose, which you don't, but if you had to choose one of them today, which one would you choose?
Probably the second one.
The second one. Okay, good. Well, should we go write an offer and see what we could get it for?
We go see a fourth one.
Okay, well, I don't have a fourth one set up, but so it sounds like you're not convinced that yet on either second or third one then.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Okay,
I think there's
so-
probably better stuff out there.
Okay, good. So here's the thing. What I don't want to, I apologize. I always do this. I apologize. Like, I don't want to waste your time looking at these type of houses that don't really work for you. So help me understand, like, what would need to happen for those two? What do I need to do so I make sure I don't show you ones that don't work?
There's probably like a bigger backyard. I need a shed. So I mean, kitchens are okay, but it's not exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay, so what were we missing out of the kitchens then? That
Updated appliances and bigger
Okay.
counter space.
Okay, so no, notice I'm just finding out more detail of like what didn't work, so that now I can go make sure that the next ones that I go to find a preview to show him are gonna work. That make sense?
Yeah.
You had a question?
Would it be better to say, great, I found these houses, I will send them to you via email. You look at them, if they're ones that you want to see, then we can go look at them. So it's more like they're picking the houses too, and it's not just all falling on you.
I mean, you can, that's fine, yeah. You could do it that way, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, and I think a lot of times they're gonna say, okay, well, send me what you find and let me take a look at it first. And they may want to drive by, that's fine. But ultimately, here's the most important thing that I want to make sure you guys got out of this. Crystallization. The whole purpose of this is to cause crystallization, because here's the thing. If I go show him properties and he doesn't want to write an offer, and I showed him stuff that meets his benefits, if he's crystallized, he'll probably buy. But if he hasn't, then he won't. And so ultimately, this is about crystallization. So I'm less worried about, can you send him the properties first, or do you just go whatever you're comfortable with? Most important thing is that I make sure he's crystallized. Okay. Now,
You want to touch base on crystallization like every, like, say they don't find a home in like, 2 months of looking, do you want to like sit them back down and go,
Yes.
okay, I just want to like touch base again, like these are your benefits, like
yeah,
this is what you're needing,
in fact, I'm not even gonna wait 2 months.
1 month.
If I go show you 3 or 4 properties and you don't buy one of them, I'm saying, so, hey, I apologize. Like, I don't want to waste your time looking at properties. Help me understand what I missed, like, because
And then you'll go over this again.
yeah, and I would just kind of be going back to, okay, so I know what we were looking for in the kitchen was comfort. Tell me how the kitchens we looked at, like, ultimately what I'm looking for is I misunderstood what comfort meant to you, basically, or what created that comfort. So help me figure out what I missed. And then, like you say, you might be like, it just needs to be a little bit bigger than what they were. So those were good. It's just they weren't quite big enough. Okay. Then now I know what I need to do. So yeah, I'm reestablishing to figure out, because the benefit shouldn't change. It's just the feature that's going to meet the benefit might be an issue. Meaning, maybe what my understanding was of the size of the kitchen wasn't quite to what yours was. Meaning I thought the size that I showed you was gonna be big enough, but you're getting there going, no, it's gotta be a little bit bigger for me to really have the comfort. Okay. Then I know what I need to do.
All right. Sounds good.
Cool. What other questions? I feel like I'm forgetting something now. So what questions? Let's see if there's anything on here. Oh, let's see. Norma said, does that letter need to be notarized or certified in any way? Or is it a verification of funds only? Yeah, good question, Norma. Basically, it's just, I just want it on letterhead from the bank saying they have funds in excess of. The other thing that people will do a lot of times is they'll just give you a copy of their bank statement. And if they do that, make sure you cross out the account number, but they will a lot of times just give you a bank statement. So I've had scenarios where they're giving me a bank statement that showed 6, 7, 800,000 and they were buying a $300,000 home or whatever. So either way.
How would you go about that? So, hey, like, could you call their bank after they talk to their bank, or
I mean, if they show you a bank statement, then that's fine, right?
Yeah, bank statement's fine.
you can send the listing agent like a screenshot of their bank statement?
Yeah, just cross out the account numbers and make sure they're, let them know that you're gonna be sending it, but. Okay. And I a lot of times will just tell them, cross out your account numbers so that, but not always do they.
Alright.
So, okay, good. What other questions? Let's see. It looks like Stacy's saying she didn't see the thing. Yeah, I uploaded it into the chat box, so hopefully it's there, but hey, if you guys, I'll put in the chat box my email. If you guys will just shoot me an email, I'll send it to you. Go ahead, Stacy.
If I log on Zoom on my computer, will it show the chat room there?
So yes, it would, but I think it only will show you chats from when you first log in rather
Okay.
than the old ones. So
Okay.
if you'll just shoot me an email reminder, I'll send you the stuff. I'll email it to you. And I threw my email.
Thank you.
I threw my email in the chat box, or you can just reply to the email I sent. All right. We good?
We're great.
Okay.
Wow, that's been great.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for being here. Next Tuesday will not be class because it's Summit. So Summit next Tuesday, so no class. And then Thursday, I don't remember what class it is, but I'll shoot you an email if you need to be here. So.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Thank you.
I didn't know this stuff before.